Alright, here we go. Starting our stream. What should we watch? What are you in the mood for? Hassan is completely fucked now.
Yeah.
Welcome back to a series so dumb, even Hassan subscribed. In today's video, Hassan is now being an absolute narcissist, making the Charlie Kirk assassination about himself. He's slandering even more people and talking about morality. Ethan is back on TikTok talking about the disgusting response of fellow lefties celebrating Charlie's death. Hassan clips are going viral on Twitter where he's advocating for violence numerous times. King of all jellyfish, Ludwig, has talked about the Charlie Kirk situation in the most spineless way possible, and his disgusting chat shares similarities to Hassan. A bunch of people are going viral for openly celebrating the assassination. Asmongold is going scorched earth on the psychos celebrating Charlie's death. Baldest man alive, Tectone, is calling out Hassan, and he's pretty angry. Subscribe, or Hassan becomes supreme overlord of the universe. Give it up for the rank #1 invertebrate, Jellywig.
Let's up those numbers!
Now let's begin with Hassan being an absolute narcissist, making the assassination about himself. Hassan talks about how his worldview leads to safer outcomes than that of Charlie Kirk.
You are the opposite of Charlie Kirk politically in a different reality. We'd be watching Charlie Kirk cover your death. Both sides are wrong, and people need to come together. No side is morally above the other. This does nothing to make us weaker as a country. Dog, my worldview does not revolve around consistently claiming that an ethnic group or any sort of inalienable characteristic or trait means that someone is inferior. Okay? There is no both sides on this. This is fucking delusional.
Yes, of course, Hassan never demonizes an entire group, guys. Mr. I support the Houthis, 10 toes down.
10 toes fucking down.
Yeah, so the Houthis, whose slogan says they want D to America and to end all the Jews. Yeah, that's not hateful at all, guys. I don't support violence. I just support people who support violence, actually. We got the #1 Hamas and Hezbollah dick writer here saying he's the reasonable one. I don't support violence, guys, unless it's done by terrorists. Then I actually love it. Right, so this next part, he uses his classic tactic of slander anyone he disagrees with. And this is particularly heinous considering the dude just died.
People who just sit around and go, ha, both sides are the same is crazy. Charlie Kirk has spent a lifetime fucking talking about like how fearful he is of a black pilot, of the Civil Rights Act was actually a mistake. Like consistently trying to draw the clock of progress backwards to the best of his ability and to some success, as a matter of fact. People with no political convictions who cannot comprehend how different ideologies yield different outcomes just look at the situation from afar and go, these guys are both talking about politics. You're not wrong when you say I'm the opposite of Charlie Kirk politically, okay? You're not wrong about that at all. It's something that I say too. I am diametrically opposed to everything that he presented.
Okay, so obviously Hassan is doing his absolute best to smear this guy in any which way possible. Now, obviously, he had a lot of views that you can disagree with for sure, but relying on Hassan to give you the full context of these quotes is like asking a fish to fucking fly. This guy will give you the most disingenuous, lying, manipulative version of whatever was being said, and you just cannot trust him. And I just don't know why Hassan ever feels like he has the high ground to talk about morality. Dude, you support terrorists who kill innocent civilians. If we do the maths, Charlie was a civilian killed by most likely political motivation. He wanted to kill the apparent fascists, right? And Hassan seems to love that type of stuff usually. So I'm very shocked that he ever said he was against it, honestly, because all of his rhetoric points to the fact that he would support this. When Charlie died, you came up with 101 ways to justify it, implying that he had it coming and that he deserved it.
He has played a formative role in his own demise. by playing a part in a media landscape, in a media environment that normalizes this death and destruction.
You did your little fake little cry there with 0 tears in order to get people off your back, but then immediately went back to the propaganda. In fact, your chat still justifies it. It was absolutely insane, the fucking loonies you have fostered. Here we got some Illuminati emojis, false flag and the sus emoji staged. Oh no, Charlie down, wee-oo, wee-oo. No Fed posting. I'm not upset. Laughing again, finally some good news. Remember when Hassan called Jews inbred? This shitstain wonders why people hate him. Exhibit A, he can't stand a difference in opinion and will always want to make himself the face of change, even though he's anything but that. Gutting these people in the street doesn't strike me as a safer outcome. Yeah, we'll get to that. Basically, a bunch of clips of Hassan are going viral. We'll get to it, don't worry. This worldview Hassan is just like waving a gun. Moving on to Hassan crying about Ethan. Basically, Ethan was calling out Hassan for still not facing any consequences on Twitch for, you know, advocating violence and being anti-Semitic. Hassan responds to Ethan going at him for his behavior on Twitch.
I think he's like trying to like design like a reasonable liberal position for himself, where he just like actively says like the real evil in this country is not the Trump administration or reactionary conservatism, but instead is you know, Hassan Abi Piker and others like him.
He's just a great representative of the whole Palestinian movement and how hypocritical it all is.
Oh yeah. Let's see here.
Anyway, I need to figure out why these are wrong. And ChatGPT's like, no, these questions are right. Your test is wrong.
If you'd like to join me, we will be dropping the link over there at Rich New Design at 1 p.m. tomorrow, so you can burn one for the Bills. We brought them victory last week. You all.
Nintendo used to protect Mario's mustache. Now they want to own the concept of pressing a button. In the last 2 weeks, they've secured patents on summoning allies and switching between mounts. Mechanics that exist in everything from Elden Ring to bloody World of Warcraft, and have done for years. This isn't about protecting innovation anymore. This is declaring war on it. And to me, this is everything wrong with modern gaming. Corporate greed wrapped up in a Pikachu cosplay. So what madness have Nintendo been up to? Well, they've just had 2 patents granted. The first one covers summoning a companion that automatically fights enemies on your behalf. You press a button, an ally appears, it battles anything hostile nearby. And the second patent, mounts. Literally jumping on or off a ground or flying mount. A fundamental mechanic that's existed in every game that has a horse for literally the last 30 years. If you've played Elden Ring, you've used a summon. Spirit Ashes work exactly like this. Summon the Mimic Tier, it fights whatever's trying to kill you, and of course From Software didn't invent this either. It's been a staple of games since the 90s. The scariest part of it all is Nintendo doesn't even need to win these patent fights. The threat alone does the work. Uncertainty kills the innovation faster than any court ruling ever could. When a small studio's prototyping companion systems, they're not thinking, will this be fun? They're thinking, will this bankrupt us? Will we be taken to court? Can we afford a legal battle? That's how you suffocate creativity, making experimentation feel like Russian roulette. What Nintendo's done here is move beyond protecting characters to owning fundamental mechanics, the building blocks of how games work, and they filed these patents right after a tiny survival game with creature companions became the biggest thing in gaming. Coincidence? Of course it's not. Pocket Pair, a tiny indie studio, shipped a survival game with creature companions. I don't need to explain it, everyone knows Palworld. It hit over 2.1 million concurrent players on Steam alone, and it sold 15 million copies in its first year. Overnight, it became real competition for Nintendo. Now look, there's no denying that Palworld draws inspiration from Pokemon. Nobody's arguing that. But what Pocket Pair did was innovate on what Nintendo refused to for the last 20 years. Added survival mechanics, base building, weapons, actual challenge. And the sales numbers are proof there was a massive demand for this that Nintendo just ignored and still do to this day. But instead of competing by making better games, Nintendo chose legal warfare. Within months after Palworld releasing, they file a patent infringement suit on Pocket Pair. The mad part is they filed those patents we just talked about after Palworld's success. They saw what worked, rushed to patent it, and then sued the people who actually dared to innovate. Awful behaviour. The result is Pocket Pair's been forced to gut core features from the game. They removed the ball throwing mechanic, which by the way is another Nintendo patent filed after Palworld launched. They had to redesign their game after launch because Nintendo decided basic gameplay mechanics belong to them. That's not protecting IP, this is crushing a threat through intimidation. The saddest part is this isn't new behaviour, it's systematic. Back in 2018, Nintendo went after a Japanese studio called Colopal over their virtual joystick controls. A 5-year legal battle ended with them having to pay 3.3 billion yen to Nintendo. That's over $30 million for letting players drag anywhere on the screen to move their character, using a virtual touchscreen joystick, because apparently Nintendo have patented that too. Think about how mental that is. Every mobile game with movement controls, which is basically every mobile game, was suddenly in Nintendo's crosshairs. They basically patented the concept of moving, like they'd invented touching a screen. It blows my mind. But they didn't just go after commercial studios. Nintendo have nuked hundreds of player-made games, mods, and everything in between. A DMCA blitz for anyone who even dares go near anything even remotely similar to a Nintendo game. Projects like AM2R and Pokemon Uranium, games that people spent years making because Nintendo just wouldn't. These weren't competing products, they were love letters, and Nintendo's response to that was legal annihilation. We're looking at 20 years of this same pattern. Nintendo sees innovation in their space and responds with lawsuits instead of responding with better games. They've been systematically bulldozing anyone who dares to do what they refuse to do. At this rate, they'll probably patent jumping next. The message to developers is crystal clear. No innovation even remotely near Nintendo's IP is safe. They don't just own Mario's face anymore, they want to own the concept of moving left and right. It's crazy. The real damage though is developers are self-censoring before they even start prototyping. Right now there's an indie team somewhere out there scrapping their companion combat system because they can't afford to find out if it's too close to Nintendo's patents. Another studio just redesigned their mount traversal because the legal risk isn't worth it. And this will be happening every day. Spreadsheet risk analysis has replaced game design. Instead of asking will this be fun, developers are asking will this bankrupt us? The most experimental spaces where new genres emerge are just gonna go quiet because innovation near Nintendo's patents feels like playing with explosives. Like, just think about the mechanics that could just disappear. Summons, mounts, companion combat. These aren't Nintendo innovations, they're gaming fundamentals that have evolved across dozens of titles, practically every genre over decades. The power imbalance is massive. The big studios can afford to fight these legal fights, but indies can't. So the people pushing the boundaries, the ones creating genuinely new ideas, they're the ones getting sued out of existence. Meanwhile, safe AAA sequels march on unchanged. And we feel it. Fewer weird systems, fewer risks, games designed by lawyers instead of designers. The creativity that actually keeps video game innovation alive gets suffocated under a pile of patent applications and lawsuit threats. It's no longer competition, it's complete control. So let's call it what it is. It's not passive defense of intellectual property. It's an act of aggression designed to control who gets to make what kind of games. Nintendo watches a tiny studio succeed with a mechanic they've ignored for decades, and their response is to rush to patent those exact mechanics, then sue. The timing isn't a coincidence, it's a strategy. See what works, file a patent, then use that patent as a weapon against anyone who dares innovate in your space. Think about it like this. Valve created Steam, but they didn't patent digital game distribution. Epic made Unreal Engine available to all developers. Even EA, bloody EA, competes with better games, not better lawyers. When Apex Legends exploded, did they sue the Battle Royale genre out of existence? Of course they didn't. They made their game better. And when I'm praising the likes of EA, you know something is seriously wrong. But Nintendo, they've turned IP law into a literal siege engine, filing patents on basic mechanics. Wait for someone to use them, sue them. Most indies can't afford that fight, so they fold. The ones who can afford it get bled dry in court for years. Either way, Nintendo wins without having to actually innovate anything. You don't have to beat your competitors when you can make competing too expensive and too risky to even try. If you own the rulebook, then everyone else plays by your rules or doesn't play at all. This is where we're heading now. Fewer studios willing to take risks because the penalties are too high. More of the same bland, committee-designed games because innovation has become a huge liability. What Nintendo's really protecting, it's not their characters, it's not their innovation. They figured out that you don't need to make better games when you can make making games seems too dangerous for anyone else to try. So when you see a studio taking real creative risks, building something weird, something experimental, something that pushes against the established order, support them, because those risks are bigger than you think. They're not just risking failure anymore, they're risking everything. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe to support the channel. It all helps massively. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, so like the way I think that works is like if you break a law in a certain country, you can sue them in that country.
Okay, got it.
For companies, yeah. Massive hack.
I have one of these if you want.
Thanks.
Lighter, I can just move outside.
I think there's one on the table over there.